September 4, 2025, began like any other in Bryan County, Georgia, until it didn't. The new Hyundai LG electric vehicle battery plant, a symbol of American manufacturing's future, was suddenly surrounded by law enforcement. Federal, state, and local officers stormed the facility in a massive, coordinated immigration raid. Agents from ICE and Homeland Security swept through the plant, securing exits and detaining workers. Confusion turned to fear as hundreds of highly skilled South Korean technicians, brought in to install and calibrate advanced machinery, were rounded up. The operation was the largest immigration enforcement action of President Trump's second term. The Department of Homeland Security called it a message: follow American immigration laws, or face the consequences. For the 475 workers detained, over 300 of them South Korean specialists, the message was far more personal and threatening. The raid didn't just halt work at the plant. It sent shockwaves through the global business community. Hyundai had counted on these experts to launch its ambitious American EV production. Now, the factory fell silent, its future uncertain. The raid raised urgent questions about America's openness to foreign investment and talent. The event's impact would echo from Georgia to Seoul to Washington. The trust that underpins international business was suddenly in doubt. The world was watching and waiting for America's next move. The day everything changed, the future of U.S. manufacturing hung in the balance. In the raid's aftermath, Hyundai's response was swift and severe. The company, a global automotive giant, began considering a full withdrawal from its U.S. operations. Billions in investments, thousands of American jobs, and a vast supplier network were suddenly at risk. For Hyundai, the raid signaled a hostile business environment, one where bringing in essential talent had become a liability. The trust that fueled massive international investment was broken. President Trump's aggressive trade policies and new tariffs only added to the uncertainty. Foreign carmakers like Hyundai faced constant threats of new taxes and unpredictable rules. The combination of immigration crackdowns and trade wars created a perfect storm. Hyundai's $26 billion plan to expand U.S. EV production was now in jeopardy. The raid was the tipping point. For the first time, Hyundai questioned whether America was still a safe place to invest. The answer for now seemed to be no. The future of U.S. auto manufacturing was suddenly in doubt. President Trump's America First stance was clear: enforce immigration laws, no exceptions. He defended the raid, insisting that all companies, foreign or domestic, must respect U.S. law. Yet he also claimed to welcome foreign investment and promised to streamline legal entry for skilled workers. This contradiction exposed a central tension: tough immigration enforcement versus the need for foreign expertise and capital. The administration demanded companies hire American, but the reality was more complicated. After the raid, Trump's team suggested detained South Korean technicians stay to train American replacements, a proposal swiftly rejected by Seoul. The offer was seen as tone-deaf and impractical, highlighting the gap between political rhetoric and business needs. The administration's mixed signals, raids on one hand, promises of partnership on the other, left global business leaders confused and wary. For Hyundai and others, the message was clear: enforcement was winning out over economic partnership. The result? Uncertainty, chaos, and the risk of devastating consequences for U.S. industry. The policy confusion threatened to undermine America's reputation as a reliable business partner. The world's investors were watching and reconsidering their next moves. The cost of this approach could be felt for years to come. The stakes had never been higher. The Georgia raid wasn't just a corporate crisis, it was a human one. The 475 detained workers were highly skilled technicians and engineers, mostly from South Korea. They were brought in for their expertise in robotics, battery chemistry, and advanced manufacturing, skills not yet available locally. Their mission: install and calibrate the complex machinery needed to launch U.S. EV battery production. The plan was always to train American workers, but only after the plant was operational. The raid halted everything, shutting down a multi-billion-dollar project overnight. The detained workers endured days of uncertainty and fear, while U.S. and South Korean officials scrambled to resolve the crisis. The Trump administration's proposal that they stay and train Americans was met with disbelief and rejection. Ultimately, a chartered flight took nearly all the foreign workers home, leaving behind a silent factory and shattered hopes. The local community, once counting on thousands of new jobs, now faced economic uncertainty. Suppliers, contractors, and small businesses were left in limbo. The human cost extended far beyond the plant, touching families in Korea and communities in Georgia. The promise of prosperity was replaced by doubt and disappointment. The raid's impact was immediate and deeply personal. The future of the project and the region was now in question. The story was no longer just about business, it was about people, and their future was suddenly uncertain. South Korea's government reacted with shock and anger. Seoul, a key U.S. ally, saw the detention of its skilled citizens as a profound insult. Diplomatic channels lit up as Foreign Minister Cho Hyun demanded answers from U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. President Lee Jae-myung warned the incident could chill future Korean investment in America. If skilled workers can't get visas, Korean companies may look elsewhere. The $26 billion Hyundai investment plan, and a broader $350 billion Korean corporate pledge, suddenly looked fragile. The raid threatened to unravel years of economic cooperation. In response, South Korea proposed a new visa category for skilled workers in strategic industries. Secretary Rubio agreed to review the idea, but the damage was done. The message from Seoul was clear. Treat our citizens and companies as partners, not targets. The foundation of trust was shaken. The future of U.S.-Korea business ties hung in the balance. The world was watching how America would respond. The stakes for both nations had never been higher. The diplomatic fallout was just beginning. The Georgia raid sent shockwaves through the entire U.S. auto industry. Car manufacturing is a global network. Parts, expertise, and capital flow across borders. The raid threatened this delicate system, raising fears among foreign automakers like Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen, and BMW. If their own specialists could be detained, their investments were at risk. Even American giants like Ford and GM rely on international partnerships and foreign suppliers. The uncertainty made future planning nearly impossible. Industry experts warned the optics were terrible. America looked unpredictable and unwelcoming. The raid's message to global business partners was confusing and negative. At a time when the U.S. needs investment to compete in the green economy, this could drive companies away. The risk, losing the very firms needed to rebuild American manufacturing. The auto sector was holding its breath, waiting for clarity. The cost of missteps could be enormous. The world's automakers were watching and reconsidering their next moves. The chaos from the Hyundai raid rippled far beyond Georgia. Thousands of promised jobs, at the plant and in the community, were suddenly at risk. If Hyundai pulled out, the economic blow would devastate the region. Other foreign companies, seeing the turmoil, might rethink investing in the U.S. The modern auto industry supports tens of thousands of American jobs. Aggressive raids and trade threats could push companies to build factories elsewhere. Investors crave stability. The raid and tariff threats created massive uncertainty. Nervous investors are less likely to fund new factories and jobs. The chilling effect could slow the entire economy, not just autos. Less competition means higher prices and fewer choices for American consumers. The ripple effect could touch millions of lives, from factory workers to car buyers. The standoff with Hyundai put the U.S. economy at a crossroads. Can America enforce strict immigration laws without scaring off the foreign investment it needs? The stakes are enormous. Global partnerships drive modern manufacturing. If Hyundai leaves, thousands of jobs and entire local economies could collapse. The long-term risk is even greater. America could lose its reputation as a reliable partner. Capital flight could follow, starving the economy of funds for innovation and growth. The U.S. could fall behind in key industries, losing ground to Europe and Asia. The Trump administration faces a critical test balance enforcement with economic needs. The outcome will shape America's future as a destination for global business. For workers, consumers, and the nation's industrial future, the consequences will last for decades.